Hello, this is Becky LaPlante, and I'd like to welcome everyone to today's online brown bag lunch. Today, we're checking in with the MIRC statewide partners to hear firsthand about everything that's happening around the state. We have with us today Teresa Kittredge from Minnesota Renewable Energy Marketplace, Laura Nedved from DEED, Hans Musing from the University of Minnesota Extension, Gary Langer from the the Minnesota Learning Commons, and hopefully we'll have Sam Drong from PCs for People joining us in just a little bit. So to get us started, we'll start off with Laura from DEED, and I'm going to go ahead and put up Laura's slide. Can you see that, Laura? Can everyone see that?
I still cannot get in, but perhaps everybody else can see it. If not, let me know and I'll just describe it as we go.
All right, great. And Laura is on audio only, so you'll see my picture remain up there while Laura is speaking, not to confuse us. So with that, Laura, I'll go ahead and have you tell us what you've been up to.
Thanks, Becky. I was trying to think as I had put the slide together how long ago it was we met, because I'm sure it wasn't that long ago, but in compiling everything we've been doing, it seems like there must have been a year that went by based on what's been going on. So I'm going to talk about the four different areas: staging, coursework development, team results, and communication. And each one has had some interesting challenges, unexpected, and some hurdles to overcome. So it's been a real interesting couple of months here. With the staging of the digital literacy training, we've been using the Learning Commons site, which has turned out to work really, really well for us. We did have some interesting challenges there. One is that it's a secure server, and with a lot of the adult education sites that we're using in greater Minnesota, we've had firewall issues come up, which were unexpected and interesting to get around. But Gary and his team have just been very, very responsive. I think at one point we had several people working overtime on that to try and help me find a solution to a particularly interesting problem. And they were able to help find a non-secure server where I could store some assets that we needed for the training. So I really appreciate their team being there and helping us out on that in the last minute. And so we got that up, got it going. Then we realized that with our particular learning group, particularly since a lot of these are ELL learners and low literacy learners, the menu system that would typically not be a problem for most people is a real challenge for these learners. And we needed a way to get that organized and be able to give them a place where they could come to just see basically a structured menu. So I put together a landing page, a web page that functions as a menu, and we've got that in the Learning Commons as a training module, but they can link right to that, and we give them a direct URL to that training menu so that we could divide it out based on the categories that we've got. Again, if we go back to some of the original development discussions that we had, we've divided the coursework by the skills that were identified by the Digital Literacy Task Force. So we've got basic computer skills, basic internet skills, basic Windows skills, email, and word processing are the 5 main categories we're looking at. And so I created the menu to show the modules beneath each one of those, and then given a link directly to that. And we did have the URL directly into the Learning Commons, which we also found out was too complicated for our learners. So we've recently then had to come up with a tiny URL, which we supplied to them, and that seems to have worked out well, although I'm now finding some interesting issues where it's not necessarily updating continuously. So I think I've gotten around that with another URL that is a truncated one. It's actually bit.ly. And so what you can see on the screen, there's this long URL there. And if you wanted to go to a shortcut that would take you right directly to the training menu, that's HTTP. I can repeat this for everyone as well. HTTP:// that's bit.ly/MIRC-menu. MIRC-MENU altogether. And I can supply that to you too, Becky, later on. But that will take people directly to the training menu, and then they can just scroll on down through that in more of a hierarchical manner than we were able to get through the Learning Commons. at least for these learners. So that seems to have worked out really well. Right now we've got 7 course modules posted along with 2 learner handouts, links to practice exercise and 2 quizzes. I've got another additional module and quiz that I'm finishing up and posting later today, and then 3 additional modules in development. So we're pushing the development work along as quickly as possible. I've also had the benefit of having some adult basic ed teachers out in the field being able to help with some quality assurance on this. So once I get it posted, they've been able to sign on. This is Rowley Fink from out in Alexandria, Jen Vanek from Hub Center, and Amanda Ehlers also from Hub Center have been able to get in there and hammer it for me from behind their firewalls, which has been extremely helpful and has helped uncover some of the security issues that we had earlier on where they could see a security message popping up that I wasn't able to see. So I've been extremely grateful to have those guys in the background helping me do some kind of slam QA on this as soon as I get it posted. And so then the team results, we actually had 4 training events start in May with some of the sites out there. Now since the development is actually going on in an iterative cycle, of course they've kind of had to patch in with some of their own training that they already have existing. But they've already started to use this for some of their basic learners, and then most of the groups will be starting in July because that will allow for them, particularly the groups that don't have any training at all or teachers with any knowledge of it, to be able to use their existing coursework around what we've created. They're waiting to start in July to be able to take full advantage of whatever's been developed by then. And then for communication, that has been a real interesting challenge for us because we've got all of these different teams scattered around the state, and what I needed to let them know was, okay, this is getting posted or this is posted, but it hasn't been run through quality assurance yet, so if you need to use it or want to try and use it, go ahead and do that, but use it at your own risk. Issues like someone having realizing that the URL was too long. How do we let people know about those things instantaneously? And one of the modules I'll be developing at some point in time is a module where our avatar, Olivia, who all of these stories are revolving around her life and how she's used these tools to learn computer skills and be able to get a job and further her education. Well, one of the things that she'll be doing is signing on to LinkedIn and getting her own ID on there. So in order to be able to also get the teachers trained on that, we went ahead and had them sign on to LinkedIn, and that's what we're using to communicate so they can also use that with their learners out there to help them learn about social networking from that perspective. So we've got 33 members on there who have been really great about giving me feedback. If something happens behind their firewall, they'll send me a message and let me know what's going on. But we've been able to relay information pretty instantly to them about things that are being tested and being released and any technical issues going on, solutions to problems that we've come up with. And it also is acclimating the teachers to these professional social networking tools. So that's kind of in a nutshell where we're at and continuing to move forward. So I think it's going pretty well. I've gotten some great feedback from people and a lot of help from the field and trying to get around these issues, and particularly in that discovering that a lot of our teachers are also behind firewalls that will not even allow them to use LinkedIn. So I'm kind of working with the Department of Education to try and see if there's a way that we can get the message out that we need to have districts open up their servers to allow LinkedIn to some of these sites. So it's been kind of tag teaming on both sides as we go along, trying to get the technology up to speed with where we need it to be able to teach what they need to be able to learn. It's a little chicken and an egg game we're playing here, but it's coming along. So are there any questions that anybody has out there?
Kathy or Laura? This is Carl. Laura?
Yes.
This is Carl. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing great, Carl. How are you?
Good, thanks. I just came back from Wyndham, and how many modules are developed now? Did you say that are ready to be rolled out?
We've got 7 posted that are being used already, along with 2 learner handouts for those. We've got some practice exercises on there and 2 quizzes. So I think there's a total of 11 items posted right now. And then I've got another one being posted today along with a quiz.
All righty. Because they're just wondering, whether they should start until the modules are all developed or not.
Yeah, that's a question that comes up, and because it is being developed iteratively, which it's cyclical. I'm putting out there basic primary modules, but there are going to be a number of additional modules that are created that are sort of special case modules. They don't really fall under the digital literacy task force list per se, but they are related to job seeking or career and education, some of the tools that we've got out there that I need to go into more detail on. So what my thought is on this is that they should start training as long as they've got enough that they can, there are several hours worth of training out here already easily. If it's a site that does not have any experience in this, they might want to wait a couple more weeks so that I can get just a few more modules out there so that I've got something under each of the categories. Because it does take me a while to get these staged. I basically had to create an entire user ID on my computer with Olivia set up, and so that I could have a black background and larger icons and things for screen captures. And I have basically a sterilized user ID on my computer with this woman set up on it, fictitious person. And I've got she's got her own email address out there now. I mean, everything is evolving like she's a real human being. And so it does take a little bit of staging work to get all that set up so that I can do screen captures or do these scenarios that they actually look like what they're supposed to be from the user's perspective, instead of something that's just patched together and thrown out there. So it takes probably about a week for me to create a module with the instructional design, the graphic design, the story writing, and programming it. But again, if they've got, some of the sites already had some digital literacy trainings they were using, and they've used hours and then used what they already know, that they've got in their cache that they've been able to fill in around with. And so they were able to start a little bit earlier on their first course to start testing it out. And that has actually been very helpful because then I could see how it's working with the learners and if they were having any issues that we needed to go back and tweak. But again, if Wyndham is a site that doesn't really have a strong technology training background already, then they may want to wait until mid-July before they actually kick it off.
Okay, great, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but they could go. They can go ahead and start looking through the modules, and then if they, when they feel comfortable with what they've got out there and what their teachers are able to talk around, then I would say go ahead and kick it off.
Okay, I'll pass that along.
Okay.
Other questions for Laura? This is Bernadine. Hello, everybody. We'll just take another minute, and we'll have a chance at the end too. But before we move on to Hans. Hans, if you'd be on deck, we'll move to you next. But just any quick questions for Laura before we move on?
No? Okay, and they can always contact me either through email, phone, or LinkedIn on our MIRC Digital Literacy group now, so open to anything.
Thanks, Laura. We'll circle back to you at the end. Hans, are you ready to take the baton? First to Hans. Hello, Hans. Are you out there? Becky is juggling a few technical challenges here, and Hans was just on audio only. He may have stepped off. So let's move on to Gary. While hoping Hans will step back in. Gary, are you ready to go?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Sure can. Thanks, buddy. You go ahead.
Okay. Well, the Knowledge Worker course is continuing to be offered. There are 4 modules for the course, and a lot of this information is on the NING site. The Module 1 is an introduction to what a knowledge worker is. Module 2 is really the career pathways for people to figure out what they want to do and how they can maximize the technology and the rural environment to secure a job. Module 3 is an innovation in the workplace. The workplace needs creative people and how best to use innovation. That really applies to business owners or managers as well as workers coming in. And then Module 4 is technology in the workplace. and what's needed for some of the current efforts in using good technology such as social media, online searching, and marketing tools. The Knowledge Worker course, now that Laura has the digital literacy developed or pretty much finished, will be a really good dovetail and hopefully be able to recruit more students as they finish the digital literacy, then proceed into the Knowledge Worker course. In June, we had Benton County, who's already completed one course with 5 people. There's another class going now this month with 6 participants. Cook County is holding their first class this month with 7 participants. We had some low enrollments in Morris and Stephen County, so canceled it for June, but hopefully they'll come back and recruit more to offer it at a later time. And 6 West was planning on offering classes in Canby, Ortonville, and Montevideo. So the sizes have been smaller than we originally thought, but we're still in that first year's kind of developmental phase, and we'll now look to work with the demonstration communities and others to see how we can broaden participation to get more folks in. We're also limited on the sites with the computer usage that's available, and there are some cases now where Steve Wagner, who's leading this out of Lake Superior College, is looking at maybe having to rent some computers or computer space to offer the class in more areas. So looking at all the options that are available to bring this out to as many places as possible and get people the training and information they need. So we're hoping, as I said earlier, working with the digital literacy course to really provide a much more pathways for folks to get into this. Any questions?
Gary, this is Bernadine. Hi again. Here's a question I have. I'd like to check my understanding that eventually and ultimately over the long run, that this is going to be a standalone distance learning delivered module, but that at this interim sort of testing stage, it's being delivered in a classroom with an instructor. Could you comment on that, correct me if I'm wrong, and then comment a little bit about that and the transition to a online-only format?
Yeah, you're correct, Bernadine. Getting the feedback from different communities and individuals will help tailor how the course is best delivered in an online format so we can aggregate people from a variety of places and provide it perhaps more efficiently. So that's the work that's going on now, and Steve is getting the folks who developed the course together to tweak it to see what's needed to make it more standalone, and then have an instructor or an advisor or someone available that can help with the specific questions as the people work through it.
Thank you. Other questions for Gary?
Gary?
Yes.
This is Carl again. Yeah, I just left that meeting with the knowledge workers at Central Lakes College here in Brainerd, and we had a great discussion. They're still carrying on the meeting. Jean said it was Jean Mershon from Central Lakes is delivering the 2 down in Benton County, and she really saw the value of that first face-to-face meeting for her, knowing who the students were, and then they know her too. So I think their comfort level with asking questions and things has went up because of that. So that's been a good component of the kickoff round anyway. One of the things that was mentioned that I think we need to do some work on with the communities is marketing, how we can utilize the entire steering committee to market and noodle a little bit. It would be helpful to have some face-to-face time, I think, with some of the folks to kind of think through this. But one of the things, Nancy, are you online, Nancy, from Benton? Does anybody know if she's on?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, didn't you mention how when you sent something out, I know Jean said she got like 6 calls in one day to register after something was sent out.
Yeah, there were 2 things that we did, and I'm not sure which one worked best, but we've had our class twice now, and in our first class we had a lady in there that was laid off from her job, and she enjoyed the class, and then she ended up working for the Workforce Center. And so I ran into her at Curves, and we talked about it, and I asked her to promote it, and I think she did a great job and got more people there. And then the other thing we did was we sent the information to a temporary, employment service. And too bad we thought of it so late, because she did get those out in the checks that they send out. But it was really close to the date of the class. So, had we done that a little sooner, maybe we would have had more interest. People could get signed up in time.
Yeah, it was the first one that you mentioned that got good results. So maybe that's something for everybody to remember is, working with their workforce centers to get information out. In discussions in the groups too, and with Bill, we've also talked about utilizing the career counselors, high school career counselors, and also the area learning centers as good places for distributing the words and having some of those students take those course offerings. Just to name a couple. I think you also mentioned, Nancy, a good idea. If there's been any large layoffs, plant closings, or anything, HR departments might want to share that with those folks getting laid off too.
Right, yeah, we tried that with a company that I read in the paper laid off about 50 employees, but I didn't get a call back from them. And it was, again, you think of these things too close to the date. We need to be thinking of them ahead of time enough so we can make those connections in time for them to get people signed up.
Well, it all leads to the template we should be using in the future then, and be aware of all these things to really hone in on all these strategies.
Right.
Thanks, Carl. And Nancy, Gary, I wanted to follow up on Carl's point about marketing. Could you review for the folks on the call what marketing materials you have out there on the NING and where it is? There's a handout, I believe. Yeah,
there should be a flyer out there that describes what the Knowledge Worker course is, and there is something that's meant to be printed and put up on a bulletin boards or distributed in terms of the Knowledge Worker course. Are you interested in developing skills necessary for today's workforce? And I don't have that page open, but it's up under documents, I think.
Yeah, and the model here is we're really relying on each of the place-based partners, the RDCs and the demonstration communities, to take advantage of those marketing materials that have been created by the statewide partners. You guys are best situated to know how and where to use those materials. And if you can't find them on the NING or they don't meet your needs, let us hear from you and we'll help you address that. But we are really relying on you guys to take those marketing materials that have been created by Mr. Learning Commons and by workforce centers and use them as you can best see fit in your areas. I think what we'll do at this point to make sure we hear from everybody is move on to Hans. Hans is communicating with us. He's back online. Thanks for hanging in there, Hans, and we'll turn the baton to you, and we'll, again, have opportunity for questions at the very end. Go ahead, Hans.
Bernadine, thank you, and hello to all. Update on what Extension has been doing, and as you'll gather here in a minute, we've been pretty darn busy. Through the end of June, I think we're going to tick up at over 120 workshops that we've offered in the 11 demonstration communities. And remember, we added 7 communities from our Horizons program. These are typically some of the smaller communities in the state. So 120 workshops across the 18 communities that we're working with. So far we've reached over 1,000 businesses, probably somewhere on the order of 1,600 individuals. And we've got another year. One of the things that we're focusing on in addition to overall workshops is one-on-one consulting with individual businesses. It's really important as we work with communities and work with businesses that, we not only give them general encouragement, general knowledge, but be able to work with them on their individual business challenges as they seek to use the internet. So we've worked with, at this point, over 40 individual businesses. A lot of communities really want to step up that one-on-one consulting at this point over the summer. We've been doing so far a series of 8 introductory workshops, which we call the I'm Connected series. They've been really very well received. We, in many communities, end up with standing room only. Out in La Capelle County with the computer commuter, the bus that rides around the county with 6 seats, we're filling that up all the time. And I think Pam Lehman is really seriously thinking about offering the workshops in a fixed location going forward. We continue to get really good reviews and feedback on our workshop evaluations, which has been really grateful. In the fall, we're going to start offering workshops from 3 advanced series of workshops. We're probably going to have about 14 workshops in all in the advanced series. We have one series focused on digital efficiency. How can businesses use the internet to be more efficient in their own internal operations? One focused on customer service, which will likely include the At Your Service workshop that the Tourism Center within the Extension has been offering for a number of years. And we also have a third advanced series of workshops called New Markets, basically helping businesses, resorts, tourism businesses, Main Street businesses figure out how to market beyond their local geography. In general, one of the things that we have noted about these workshops, and we continue to get feedback here, is the strength of doing these workshops face-to-face. People have asked us, even before I started last August, why don't you offer a lot of your workshops in internet use and business use of the internet? Why don't you offer them as webinars? And one of the things we're finding, and I've taught a number of these myself, what really is important about these workshops is the interaction between the students and the student and whoever's doing the teaching. So we continue to be fairly reluctant to move to a webinar format or a pre-recorded format. What we are really seriously looking at as these workshops mature is pre-work that may be web-based and homework afterwards that may rely on web-based and printed technology. A couple of other things we're doing. We're finalizing, finally, a single calendar of all the workshops across the state that we can distribute to the RDCs, post on Ning, and any other place that we need to. We continue, some other people have talked about publicity. We're getting standing room only. We rely a lot on local coordinators and the MIRC steering committee people to get the word out. Where we're working with chambers of commerce, we rely very heavily on them to advertise. Continuing ed and the higher ed groups that we're linked up with also help. Laura, you mentioned the firewall challenge. It's very real for us. You try to teach a social media workshop in a high school, and you can't get to LinkedIn or Facebook or Twitter, it's a real challenge, and I'm not sure how we're going to address that.
Okay.
Looking forward, as I said, most of the communities are standing down in terms of workshops over the summer. We're gonna gear back up in the fall. A couple of them are actually running all the way through the summer, which is interesting. I think tourism is in those communities where tourism is heavy in industry. They want to stand down, but what we are seeing a huge amount of interest in is one-on-one consulting, and so we're lining up in July and August a good round of that. We're also beginning to work with a few communities on some more significant community-wide community vitality, community economics issues. When you talk about business use of the internet, one of the things that really can be significant to a business or to a group of businesses is understanding what their market area is, understanding where they're drawing their retail traffic from, understanding if they're a tourism-focused community, what their market is. And Extension for a number of years has had a number of tools around tourism assessment, market area profile, retail trade analysis that a couple of communities now have asked us at a community level, have asked us to start talking to them about doing. And we also have one community, it's a Horizons community, Monaga, that has actually gone so far as to ask us to do a business retention and expansion study. And this is a fairly involved typically 6 to 12 month effort in a community to look at the whole business community and how the community markets itself. And clearly technology is and broadband use is a huge component here. So that's where we are and where we're going. Year 2, I think, is going to be very active, and I think we're going to start seeing some really interesting impacts. I was working with one of the educators a couple days ago and wanted to show him some of the challenges of lack of internet presence on Google Maps of businesses. And my example's always been Cook County because there are not very many businesses in Grand Marais that show up on Google Maps. And so I pulled up the map of Cook County, and there are probably close to 36 businesses now. And I did a double take and then remembered, we had a roadside advertising in the digital age workshop, which focuses on Google Maps and Bing and Yahoo Maps. And I remembered, well, we'd done that 2 months ago, and here's the impact, that now you can find most of the businesses in Grand Marais. You can find them on the map if you're coming from outside of town. So that was really cool. That's my story. Any questions, comments?
Thanks, Hans. Bernadine here. I'm going to leap in with a request for clarification. Would you clarify to the MIRC partners on the line about their ability to access those larger community engagement processes and economic development plan work resources that you talked about in Managua and others
Yes.
as part of what they can look to you for?
Yes. The tourism assessment, the market area profile, and the retail trade analysis are all activities that the extension educators can do. And because the extension educators are in some cases dedicated to the MIRC project for as much as a third of their time, if a community says we'd like to maybe potentially look at trading a workshop or two for a tourism assessment or a market area profile, we very seriously would look at that. It's when you talk about sustainability, Bernadine, you're giving people these tools, really give communities the data they need to act specifically to improve, to use broadband to improve their marketing, their retail sector, whatever.
Thank you,
So
Hans. Other questions out there for Hans? If not, why don't we move on to Sam, and there'll be a chance for questions to everybody at the end. Sam, are you on with us? Ready to go?
I am here.
Super.
I apologize for missing my first cue. I was having some technical difficulties. But yeah, as many of you know, we finished up the first big wave of work that we were doing about delivering computers out to each demonstration community. That work has been completed now for almost 2 months, I think. I think our last trip was in April when we made our last few deliveries. One of the things that I want to just speak to the demonstration communities about is that despite having those computers, giving those out, we've seen very little of the paperwork that we needed come back to us so far, and I'm not sure why that is. I'm not sure if the computers just maybe haven't been distributed yet, or possibly they're maybe just sitting on a desk. I know it's not always fun to do that paperwork side of things, but there are some there were sheets of paper that were attached to each computer that needed to be filled out and sent back to us. So I just want to remind people, if they have those sitting somewhere, or maybe they've been lost or something like that, just let me know, because we do need to have that information. That's one of the requirements that we need from Microsoft, basically. They need to know, since they're giving us such discounted rates for some of the licenses that we have, they need to know who those licenses are going to. So that's something we definitely need back. Also, just some kind of updates. We definitely took away, or I took away some really good ideas from the meeting that we had in St. Cloud fairly recently. I think, it's probably been a month or two now since we've had it, but took away some good ideas how to kind of continue to work with some different communities and different RDCs as well. One of the things that I had mentioned at the time, and we have gone ahead and got the funding for it, I just need to put it together, but we've basically assembled what we're calling a mobile refurbishing lab, where essentially we can take it basically fits almost in the size of a suitcase, and I just need to plug a monitor and a keyboard and a mouse into it, and we can start refurbishing. I think it's up to like 32 computers at a time. So our hope is to take that piece of machinery out with us and travel to some of not just the demonstration communities, but also to some of the other communities that maybe the RDCs could help us get in touch with, and kind of take our program to places that maybe have computers sitting there waiting. Or we'll go through some of the details a little later as we kind of figure them out. But the general idea is that we'll just take this machinery out. We'll refurbish computers that are already waiting for us when we get there, but then also possibly trying to do some sort of larger event and have a computer drive at the same time. And then we would basically distribute those computers either ourselves or partner with some other community action programs in the area, like a Head Start or something to that effect, that could help distribute the computers once we leave. So that's kind of our next phase, or at least my next phase that I'll be working with, and I'll be reaching out to a lot more of the RDCs now that we've got that in place. I also just wanted to give a little plug for ourselves. I know that Blandon has kind of created this new digital inclusion community partnership to try to help get low-cost technology into the hands of people that can use it. And I definitely think that we have a good low-cost solution of getting technology. So if anybody is interested in having a conversation with us about how we might be able to help you get more computers into your communities, I'd definitely be open for that conversation. So I think that's kind of it.
Yes, thank you, Sam. Wow, that was really cool to have you reiterate the invitation for demonstration communities and RDCs to think about ways to partner with you to respond to the new RFP on increasing digital literacy. Thank you. Any quick questions for Sam before we move on to our final presenter, Teresa? Teresa, are you ready to go?
I am, and I apologize too. I was having some technical difficulties getting on, so I missed my first cue there. But I threw together a couple of slides just to talk a little bit about MNREM and just what our goals are really in the MIRC initiative, which is really focusing and reaching out to that renewable energy business sector and delivering training and technical assistance on broad-based technology services, again, to renewable energy businesses. And I do want to say that renewable and alternative energy businesses are our target, but there are a lot of businesses that feed into that sector also, such as manufacturing is a huge piece of the renewable energy sector. Bio is. So it is a, I think one of the things that I've heard from folks is, well, I only have 2 solar companies in my region. Who else would it be? So just want to know that it's a broad definition of folks that are currently in the sector or want to get involved in the sector also to get involved in renewable energy. We can move to the next slide. Let's see here. Did it move and not me? Oh, there it goes. All right. What's new on our website? MNREM.org. We have all of the broadband blog. Everything is connected into our main website now. We've had 6 webinars, and they're all posted to the web. And the webinars that we've had, if you go out to the web, you can see it's been broadband for business, strategic websites, getting found online, social media. We just held a webinar a couple weeks ago on how to hire a web developer. And in August, we have, August 11th, we have Smart Grid coming up. The webinars, the whole thought behind our webinars is to really get that 30,000-foot view of a topic, and then we're just kicking off, heading into communities to do training and taking our webinar topics and drilling down. We had our first one in Redwood Falls, and to echo what Hans said, it was great. We had 30-plus businesses there, and a little piece on that I learned, which I'm sure folks won't be surprised about. We had some wireless problems at the library in Redwood Falls. Luckily, that was detected the night before, so we moved to the public health building. They have a nice big conference, but we had a heck of a time with bandwidth. Luckily, a couple of us had phones that could hook up 5 computers each off of our phones, but that was just it was helpful in Redwood Falls to reinforce their need for bandwidth there. And who I worked with there, John Shepard put out the word, and Julie Rath, who's economic developer, is who I worked with there, and just a little bit on working together. She had an identified list of businesses, and then I had an identified list of businesses, and we worked together to cross-promote, and then she sent it out through all of her economic development channels, and that's really how we got the word out. And there is a video posted on the website that we did pull together after the meeting to talk a little bit about it. And the other thing that's always updated on our website is the blog updates. So if we could move to the next slide. Just a couple quick things as far as training. What we really want to move to now is we've done our 6 webinars. We have more webinars coming, but we'd love to repeat what we just did in Redwood Falls, which was very successful. And as I said, the training is really hands-on from webinar topics. Our goal is really to, work with you and your communities to find out who's a local training provider that can teach this topic, and we work off of the webinar and then customize it to what you'd like as a community. We were really fortunate in Redwood Falls to identify a young woman, Sarah Kuglin, who has a new business on her own doing this type of training, and she was able to connect also with a number of businesses that day also that she hadn't worked with. So it's really a nice way to build that sustainability. And sessions can be held anywhere. For example, I think the majority of our folks today are RDCs, anywhere in the RDC. Of course, our focus is on in demonstration communities and the RDCs are a big part of this too. So we can go to where it works out best for your area, your community. And as I said, what businesses to recruit, we can work together on that. I do have somebody working with me now developing more targeted lists for communities on who all, number one, is part of the renewable energy industry and who some prospective businesses are that could be part of this. So working together to get the word out would be great. So we'd love to help in identifying businesses to do that. And we really need your assistance to help get the word out and promote. We definitely can work together on that, but you guys are the ones on the ground. In MNREM, we have a one-pager that we've had out. We can provide marketing materials to support training. Redwood Falls, I'll just use that as another example. We worked together on a joint piece that went out and really pushed that via email and did calls. And the training follow-up, we'll always post that on the website on our project blog. And just moving forward into the next slide, it's really like how can we better engage with you? I've done follow-up with folks of, invite us to your meetings to present. And it was fun. I was at Arrowhead. Pat invited me up to Arrowhead last week, and that was a great opportunity to meet folks and connect and talk a little bit about what we're doing. Rhonda from Region 9 got me an invitation to the RDC meeting in August in Bemidji, so I'm looking forward to that. But what I really wanted to throw out to folks, too, is, what can we do to help provide resources to boost training and webinars in your regions and communities? So, where are there things that you think, we can do better outreach with you so we can get more training scheduled and communicate out, get more marketing support out to you and business support. And then the final slide is just, if folks have questions, which I know we're going to wait till the end, and just my contact information, please feel free to contact me. Send me a message on the NING, send me email, whatever. I'd love to come meet with your group that's working in your region, or any connect you have, just let me know, and I'd be glad to come. I think, as someone said earlier, being there in person just really helps connect better. So thank you.
Thank you, Teresa. That was just terrific. We've got about 5 minutes left for questions for Teresa or any of the other terrific presenters today, so please have at it. I guess I'll leap in the silence while you folks are thinking of a question for our presenters. I wanted to just reiterate what we heard Hans say earlier about the calendar on the NING, and as you can see, that each of these the products and tools are really out there now. We've reached a kind of a new stage in the overall delivery of the initiative, and we are committed to making that calendar on the NING a more useful tool for everybody. So each of the statewide partners are committed to making sure that their content is, that those calendars are updated, and I commend that calendar to demonstration communities and RDCs as well, and invite you guys to put stuff that you're doing in your regions or communities up on the calendar as sort of a management tool across the whole project. Also wanted to reiterate the fact that the NING houses the marketing brochures and materials that each of the statewide partners have available. And as I think the theme that today, if I might summarize, is help us help you. Teresa and Hans and Laura and everybody, Gary is really anxious now to help you bring these tools, how they can best further our shared goals under MIRC. And we are looking to the RDCs and the demo communities to tell us how we can help you deliver these products locally. So I just wanted to, kind of do my cheerleader thing about that on NING. And stop for a moment and see if there are some questions out there to our presenters. We've got just a couple minutes left.
Bernadine, it's Carl, if I might.
Please.
Kind of the message I've been trying to deliver now in the latest rounds of meetings is related to the training we had in St. Cloud when they talked about the divergence and convergence, about how, we've just got a lot of different stuff going now, so there's a lot of divergent activities. and now how do we try to mesh those together and get partnerships going and create this single entity, this MIRC entity in the communities that where people are talking and partnering and for instance, like Wyndham, as people go through the digital literacy training in their packets, they've got the handouts for the knowledge worker training in those, so they can go on to the next level. And how our steering committees can promote all these things, use, each steering committee member's networks to promote the opportunities that are there. So I think it's something we need to utilize those steering committees to get the word out and help us take advantage of this.
Thanks, Carl, and some of the communities you're working with are really leading the way on that integration example, so I appreciate that. Any final questions? Well, it's just 2 minutes to 1 here, and I'd like to thank all of our statewide partners and everybody for attending. We had a really nice turnout today. I'm so glad because there was so much information that was shared. And as usual, we'll get the recording out of today's sessions on the NING in the next day or two. Next month in July, we're going to resume our spotlight on the demonstration communities, and we'll get the details posted on the NING as soon as they're finalized. So again, thanks to everybody for your participation, all the great work you're doing out there. It was grand to be together with you on the webinar. Have a great rest of the day. Good afternoon. Bye-bye.